showing us the way.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Saturday, happy March, happy Women's History Month. It is time for community coffee. So you know what that means. Share this video. Share this video. You know I'm going to do it like I do it every Saturday, and I'm going to share it on air because we want everybody to know what we're talking about. So take a moment, share the video, and we're going to get started. So we're here like every Saturday morning on our favorite platform, Radio La Difference, with our super producer, Mr. Man. Good morning, Mr. Man.
Good morning, King. I'm glad to be here for you guys.
We are glad to have you. And of course, we couldn't do it without our advocates who show you the way every Saturday. Good morning, Carmen. Good morning, Amber.
Good morning.
Good morning. And I am so excited this morning. I'm excited this morning because we are celebrating women in sports, and we are representing this morning. We got some hometown heroes this morning, and we have somebody we've adopted into the Evanston crew here this morning with us. We are representing NU Northwestern, who is live from March Madness. Chicago Bears, we got a lot of Bears fans in the house, and the Memphis Grizzlies. So cool. So we are going to see this morning, because you just automatically think you got to be a player or, I don't know. But there's so many ways that you can be a part of sports. Besides being a player or a reporter, there's so many things that women can do and be in this industry. And we are so excited this morning to have our guest. I'm going to let Carmen introduce everyone. I am glad to have you. I'm going to personally say, hey. I'm going to say hey to my soror, Monique. Thank you for coming all the way from, you in Iowa?
Chicago. California.
Girl, see, you got so much, you don't know where she at. Okay, well, I appreciate you joining us. Keisha, thank you for joining us. Keisha's a hometown girl. Keisha, you went to school with one of my kids. I know I got a crew, but you went to school with one of my kids. And Selena, another hometown Evanston girl. Thank you for joining, woman. Thank you for joining us this morning. So go ahead, Carmen.
Good morning. Thank you everyone for being here. So we are talking about women in sports. So I'm going to give a couple quick introductions, and then we'll get into the conversation. So we'll start with introducing Keisha. So I'll read a short bio for Keisha. So Keisha Lee is a creative and strategic event curator focusing on enhancing the consumer's experiences within the event industry. She began her career at Tulane University School of Business, planning commencement ceremonies to private engagements for the dean. Prior to Keisha's current role as the fan events and entertainment coordinator for the Chicago Bears, she worked on planning community and political engagements to Essence Festival of Culture. Her years of experience spans various events in the entertainment and sports event industries. So that is Keisha. Thank you, Keisha, for being here. I'll also introduce Selena. So Selena Hilliard is a native of Evanston and a 2011 Evanston Township High School graduate. As a student athlete at ETHS, Selena played on the girls' basketball and bowling teams and ran track. After graduation, Selena headed to Nashville, Tennessee to pursue a Bachelor of Business Administration from Tennessee State University. During her matriculation, Selena joined Alpha Kappa Psi Professional Business Fraternity, as well as Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. In 2015, Selena graduated cum laude from TSU and began to chase her career in sports. In 2016, she entered the sports industry as a ticket sales associate with the Milwaukee Bucks. In 2021, she made her way back home to Chicago and joined the front office staff of the Chicago Sky, who ended up winning a championship that year. And most recently, Selena has taken her talents to Memphis, Tennessee, where she is an activation manager with the Memphis Grizzlies. So thank you both for being here. Monique, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Sure. I don't know if I can do what you did, the justice you gave for those ladies, but Monique Holland, resident. I'm from St. Joseph, Missouri, but I moved to Evanston about a year and a half ago to take on a new role as a Deputy Director of Athletics and Chief of Staff for Northwestern University. Played basketball at Alabama State University, so HBCU grad, a proud grad, and just found my way in sport through coaching at Georgia Tech for the first 5 years of my career, and then transitioned to administration soon after, and been in college athletics a number of stops, including the NCAA National Office and other D1 institutions and a D2 institution. So I have a diverse experience in college athletics, but happy to be here. And I'm also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Thank you.
And
so
we're
much.
happy to have you. And thank you for taking time out of March Madness. So we weren't sure we're going to be able to get Monique, but she came through. Thank you, Sora. We appreciate
You're welcome.
So if each one of you could just tell us a little bit about your role and kind of maybe what your day-to-day looks like right now. So we'll start with Keisha.
My current role, I kind of deal with all of our fan activations. So just imagine when you go to an event and they want you to like throw a football and do an activity and you get information or get giveaways. Those are the activities that my team and I plan. So I'm on the game presentation team. Right now, more of my day-to-day is prepping for draft party. We did do a lot of trading, we had a number one pick. There was just a lot of hype around it. So right now we're just trying to curate an event for those fans who haven't been to a draft party in a while, to bring them back and bring that commitment back to the Bears for some of those casual fans that we've taken note and surveyed and found out that we have. So right now I'm kind of knee deep. We're trying to plan a nice evening and bring everybody back and have that love for the Bears come back.
That's awesome. So that's huge right now with the draft going on. Like there's a lot going on with the Bears right now.
Yes, we're a little hot topic.
Yeah. Selena?
I guess I'll go to the next hot topic on the NBA side, the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm currently an activation manager, and what my job entails is working with our corporate partners to ensure all of their assets are activated throughout the season. So anytime you see presented by, powered by, brought to you by, that's usually something that I've worked on, and if that is one of my accounts. So currently I work with a company down here called Hollywood Feed, which is a pet store. And basically during the timeouts, they have an activation that's a word scramble, and people are unscrambling words for dog breeds or different famous dogs and stuff like that. So that's the kind of stuff that I work on, along with player appearances, community events, everything that's in our corporate partners' contracts. My day-to-day right now is really wrapping up the season and heading into playoffs. We have to resell all of our activations and assets for playoffs. So we're just packaging that up to our corporate partners to see who wants to continue their assets through playoffs and making sure that everybody is buttoned up and ready to go come April.
Awesome. Wow. And Monique?
Great. Thank you. As the chief of staff, I basically serve on behalf of our director of athletics, especially for the day-to-day operations of our department. As I shared earlier, I was a coach, and I was a coach, and I started in this industry or transitioned to administration in the world of compliance. And so all that matters now to me in my career now. I try to help serve all those different units. I do help serve all those units. I do help serve our student athletes, our donors, kind of the people that my colleagues here, Keisha and Selena mentioned. I just help support them in my current role. So I feel like there's nothing that I don't get to do or don't do. It's just whatever the AD wants me to do, I do. So I wouldn't say I'm second in charge, but I actually, but I do a lot for our AD. So like today, we're at March Madness, and a lot of our responsibilities is just making sure our donors and our fans have an amazing time. So whether that's making sure the right people in the right seats, whether that's making sure that the right people are invited to our different donor events. So that's what it looks like today. But most days it's, helping our sport programs, making sure our student athletes have what they need to have a very good experience, making sure our coaches have what they need to make sure the student athletes do have a good experience. And a lot of times my day is dealt with, problem solving, putting out fires. You're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds every day. And so, and we know that the world that we live in, it's a little different than at least the way I grew up. And so, day to day, you're having to have conversations with student athletes to better understand their needs because it's not what we needed or what we expected. So every day is different for me. In this current role, like I said, when I was in compliance, it was more focused on monitoring and providing education about sport. But now it's just about serving those different constituent groups on behalf of my director of athletics.
I love that everyone is something a little different. Like all three of you are all working for teams, which are all doing something a little different, which is pretty cool. A lot of this I didn't realize was a part of, the sports and athletic world. So I'm curious of a challenge that you've all have had kind of as your career, your trajectory, some challenges along the way. These are typically male dominated spaces. So what challenges have you all had to overcome just as you've excelled?
I'll go, I guess. I think just by you saying the male dominated, that's what it is. That's part of it. I've been very, very blessed. I will say that to have pretty amazing opportunities throughout my career. Most of those came because of a woman. Even before women were popular in administration, I had a female mentor named Mary McElroy at Georgia Tech and Dee Todd, two women, actually Black women, and Dee Todd, who, again, before Black women were even popular in the space, women in this space, they were present. So I had some representation to know that I could do this. But again, along the way, there were some bumps and bruises. I was usually the only female in the room or the only person of color in the room. And so you always felt like I had to learn to find my voice because you often felt like if I say that, they're going to think I said it because I'm Black. Well, that is why I said it. I'm supposed to represent the others that look like me. And I had to learn to grow into that voice. So that's the challenge I had it was more about myself and coming to the realization that I'm here because I deserve to be. And I didn't. So I learned how to be present, not just for myself, for all the young men and women who look like me. And so, but that was the biggest challenge, and it's finding my voice in this space. And I finally did that, and I feel like that's why I'm sitting in the seat that I do today.
I guess for me, a challenge has always been just kind of navigating your way through your career. In the event industry is such a large industry. And like I said, I came from Tulane, which was a complete university, and then just trying to still keep a resume that was powerful, I guess, and showed that I was capable of doing the work on top of, like Monique said, just being Black and being a woman. Like those are already challenges that we face. But then also too, sometimes people think that you're just not capable. Because I came from a university and they don't see the skills that are transferable over into sports or over into other industries. But I always believe like there's the foundation in event planning. And like, as long as I'm able to show that I know how to do my job, or I know how to do and elevate the job or elevate the experience or elevate something, I think that was the biggest challenge for me with this whole journey, on top of, like Monique said, just being Black and everything. It's like sometimes just proving yourself, and like sometimes you shouldn't have to do that. But when you go for these interviews, they're not seeing us there, they're not seeing us in the spaces, so they're not seeing where we're capable of being or growing and representing in these spaces. So that was kind of the challenges that I experienced throughout my career into getting to this point, is just trying to navigate it and then trying to make sure it was something that was always making me better.
Yeah, to piggyback off of both of you, my challenge was more so getting back into the sports industry. When I graduated in 2015, I was on Teamwork Online, applying to every single job that I could just to try to get into sports, because at that point I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to work in sports. And so in 2016, when I got the opportunity with the Milwaukee Bucks, I jumped right on it. And then I took another position with the Chicago Blackhawks, which was seasonal. So at the end of 2017, I believe, It took me a while to get back into sports because I had to take jobs that were outside of sports, of course, to keep the money coming in. And that led to 1 to 2 jobs that were outside of sports. And so now I'm moving away from sports and away from that experience. So like Keisha mentioned, going in those interviews and trying to explain my transferable skills, how I'm still here, how I'm still learning and being knowledgeable about the industry, the trends. So I'm still keeping up with that was definitely a struggle. So when I got the position with the Chicago Sky and the opportunity to jump back into sports, it was like a breath of fresh air because it literally was exactly what I wanted to do. The job was never posted. It was told to me by word of mouth. So even though I was applying to hundreds of jobs, I would have never found that job because it was never posted. So it just shows that God's timing is always perfect and that you always have to be persistent and ready no matter what.
Can I just stop and say that I am so proud of all you Black women on the screen this morning. Representation is important. We know it's a must. And we do see ourselves in sports, but we don't always see ourselves in those front offices and behind the scenes and those important things that make sports go. So I am just so proud of y'all. All y'all representing your space, your places today. I'm going to need some gear. I see the Bears, the Grizzlies, and you. So remember that Kim's going to need some gear so I can represent with y'all. But we are so proud, and I know our audience is, and we thank our Facebook family for watching. I'm going to give it to Carmen and see if she has any questions.
I think I'm going to give it to Amber and see since I asked a couple. Amber, do you have any questions?
Well, seeing as you asked the question that I wanted to ask about challenges, I'm just going to make a comment. It's just so wonderful to see Keisha, Selena, Monique. I've had the pleasure of meeting you at events, but Keisha, I've seen growing up as a kid. Selena, I've seen, I'm a little bit older than Selena, but I've seen her as a small child grow up. And just to see you women now just so powerful and representing us Black women in sports is amazing. And it's also just a testimony. And, for me, it's motivational to know that, there is a space, even in the sports industry, for a Black woman. And something that I might even consider. I like event planning.
I think one of my questions would be, because you guys are all athletes. I know I heard basketball. And
Oh, I was a cheerleader.
Keisha, I know you was cheering. You and Brittany was cheering together.
Yes.
I know that. And Selena, you were basketball and
track and bowling. Mm-hmm.
Both really cool. So how did you guys transition, or did you know, or did you want to pursue professional athletics, or how did you decide to make that transition? How did that come about? Because I know being a student athlete and a collegiate athlete, a lot of times it's like, I'm just going to stay focused and do that. And we know that doesn't always happen. So how did you get on this track?
I go first. I think it was like 7th grade. I always said that when I went to college, I wanted to major in sports marketing or sports management and computer science. Back when I was in 7th grade is when computers were just starting out and getting way before they are now. So I thought it was cool that I knew how to work computers and all of that stuff. So, but that soon went out the window and I focused straight on sports. So I always knew, like since 7th grade, that I always wanted to work in sports. And like I said earlier, I just didn't know how. So when it was time before graduation, I was just on Teamwork Online, which is where all of the sports jobs are posted, just applying to any type of position. I probably interviewed with about 15 to 18 teams before I got the position with the Milwaukee Bucks. But like I said, I always knew that I wanted to work in sports. And to this day, I don't see myself working in another industry. Like it doesn't seem fun to me. It doesn't seem like I would enjoy the day-to-day, that I would enjoy being at work. With the Memphis Grizzlies, I thoroughly enjoy being there. I don't know how much I enjoy getting up and going to work 5 days a week. But that's just the life we live in. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I hope that our student athletes, and especially those younger ones starting in middle school and high school, are knowing that they can go to college and not just play sports. You can major in something around sports that can keep you in that sports world. So, moms and dads, if you're listening and you have some young players out there, we're going to start really, really, really directing them towards career paths that can keep them. Because everybody wants to go to work and be happy, right? So that's a big thing. Thank you, Selena. Monique?
I think we've all touched on representation today. And as I shared earlier, I went to an HBCU. But what I will say is I didn't see any women in leadership roles at my institution. So I had no thoughts of being in college sports or any sports industry after college. So I just didn't even think about it, which is weird and crazy when I think about that. But after sports, I worked for and it's going to date me, some of you young folks on here. My first job out of college was with the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'll make this story real short, but my cousin invited me there after college and said, hey, just come here. There's going to be jobs after, the Olympics. But what they didn't really know is when the Olympics left, the jobs left. And so I just went to Georgia Tech to look for a job, like just any job, just to stay employed. And I wanted to stay in Atlanta. But I decided to go over to the basketball office and offer to volunteer at Georgia Tech. And if you know the coach, Agnes Bernardo, crazy, a hoot from New Jersey, I saw a nameplate on Bobby Crim. Bobby Crimmins was the men's coach, and he's a legend. If you know anything about men's basketball at Georgia Tech, he's the legend, the icon for Georgia Tech. And I saw his name on the nameplate, and I'm like, I don't belong in the same space with this man. That's how I thought, y'all. And I started to leave the facility, and the women's basketball coach said, hey, is there someone out there? And I was like, yeah. And so I peeked my head around the corner. I'm like, I just want to volunteer. And she's like, girl, come on in here. Wish you could meet Agnes because she's amazing. So long story short, she invited me to a practice, and then they went to Europe for a foreign tour. I sent her an email, not an email, emails weren't in yet. I sent her a note and said, thank you for letting me come to practice and congratulations. But what I didn't know at the time was two of her core values was service and gratitude. I offered to volunteer and I said, thank you. She offered me a job for that reason. And that's how I got into sport. So another woman took another woman in. So I've been very, very blessed to have women in my life who have pulled me along. And that's why I find it extremely important in my responsibility to do the same thing for those reasons. Because again, I had no thoughts of going into sport, but I can't imagine have done anything differently for the last 20 plus years.
What an amazing story. You never know what those please and thank yous and acts of service will do. You never know. So just do the right thing all the time. And you never know where you might land. Thank you for sharing that story. Amazing. Selena.
So for me, my route to sports was a little strategic. So I've been doing events. I had worked for a lobbyist, gained a lot of side contracts where I gained more experience of like doing a variety of events because the universities can sometimes get repetitive. So working for an event company in New Orleans called NOCCI, I would do political events, like I said. And then we would do all types of things like Bayou Classic. We'll do jazz festivals. So I was able to see outside of just the university world of events. And then that's what piqued my interest. And then also continuously signing a contract with Essence every summer. So I would always kind of just do the festival on a sponsorship level, manning activations, stuff like that. But then it was like, okay, well, this was the larger scale that I was doing on the side of still doing like a university, which is a smaller scale. So I made sure balance wise, I was like, if it's piquing my interest, I'm going to go towards the interest. And so honestly, when people talk about how God works in mysterious ways, in 2019, I had a vision board party. And on my vision board, I had put arenas on my vision board. I thought I was crazy. My friends all thought I wasn't. And I was like, you guys, I'm just going to try this. And I put the NBA and I put the NFL teams and I put Chicago in the middle. At the time I was living in New Orleans, I thought that was going to be the end all be all for me. I did not think I was going to leave that place. But ultimately, obviously there was some interest. Like I always said, whatever I feel is more, I'm going to go towards more. I've always followed my gut on that. And I just haven't let that deter me or stop me. So in the midst of doing that, I kept doing things and just kept growing the size of the events. And then, to be very honest, I lost my job during the pandemic because there was just a shift and there were no events. And so people were letting people go. And so I was just like, okay, what was I going to do next? And then the inkling and the need and the feeling that I kept feeling, and I kept looking at that vision board. I'm like, that's not going to happen. And I was like, well, it could happen. And I battled it for a long time because I just was like, no. And then I honestly had to take a step back because I was overqualified for the job at the Bears when I came in. So they were looking for an event coordinator position. I had done event coordinator since probably like beyond 2019 and before. So I was overqualified. I had done a large scale festival. I had done more than a football game. And so for me, I just had to keep following what was the gut feeling. And so I started applying, like Selena said, on Teamworks, and you hear the no's. And then I started getting a little bit more strategic and actually taking out the middleman of Teamwork and like using them to research and then applying on the actual websites. And so a friend of mine sent me the Bears, and I sat on it, to be very honest with you, because I was like, I'm overqualified again. I don't think they're going to take my resume because they're going to be like, she's overqualified. We can't afford to pay for her to be there. But I just followed, honestly, what God had told me on a vision board in 2019 and the feeling that I constantly felt of wanting more at a larger scale event. And honestly, it was the best decision of my life. It's been a scary decision. I'll be very honest with you. And it's been a labor of love because I took a lot of leaps of faith on this. I literally, like I said, didn't have a job, was in between jobs and just trying to work on a dream that I kind of felt like was there. So that's been my journey into sports. It's not the most strategic route and straightforward, but it was the one that I felt gave me the growth in my career. And that's why I'm in sports now. And I don't know what I'm going to do after, so I'll probably take another vision board, to be honest.
Well, invite me to your vision board party because it looked like,
I want to come too.
Honestly, you guys, I promise you, from 2019 when I did it right before the pandemic, I literally saw all my friends' dreams come true. Wow. I promise you. I did it because I was like, well, we always talk. I had a very tight-knit group of friends that I had gotten from Tulane, that had gotten in the professional social area of New Orleans. And we always talked about our dreams. And like, I was like, well, why not make my party what all y'all sit and talk to me about all day? Why don't we just do it together? And like, I have never, I'm not going to say I never not believed in God, but it was like when you really hear your friends talk about like just how you inspired them. And I even honestly thought my vision board was going to go in the trash because everybody's vision was coming before me. And I was like, okay, well, maybe my job was to be there for them. And sometimes you just learn your role as a friend in the friendship group. And they know I will always support them from here and far. But if it wasn't for that, I don't think any of us would have known to talk about what we truly wanted. And sometimes to see it, to talk about it, and then to look at it every day, you really realize like how much work and things like that, and praying and just fasting and everything that you need to do to get to where you want to go.
Man, Keisha, thank you for sharing that. What a beautiful, beautiful story. We know we trust God's plan, and prayer works. And again, we want to come to the vision board party, the next one. We all coming. That is amazing. That is amazing. I want to thank our Facebook family for watching as usual. Miss Betty's watching. Hey, Miss Betty. Hey, Sora Glenn is watching. Hey, Miss Glenn. Who else is watching? Miss Hilliard is watching. Everybody who's watching or listening on the radio. Thank you so much. Gwen said, our Black is beautiful. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Before we get off the air, I'd like you guys just to say one or two words that you'd say to our young women, because you guys have inspired me today. So just one or two words of inspiration that you give to our young women today.
Well, the word I live by is grace. Show yourself and others grace. And I'll leave it right there.
I would say my manager told me or mentioned a quote in one of our meetings this week that I really like, even though I don't like the word luck. He said, "Put yourself in a position to be or to get lucky," and to me that means being ready, prepared, and just ready, prepared for anything that can come your way. When the job with the Chicago Sky came my way, my resume was prepared. I was able to send it. I was able to have those conversations on the spot. And if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't have been able to receive that position and put my career in the right path. So just put yourself in a position to get lucky.
I guess my word would probably be accountable. I've been using this word a lot. I think people think accountability is always to someone else, but also to being accountable to yourself. And meaning being accountable in like pursuing your goals, being accountable to living the life that you want to live. I think as Black women, sometimes we give so much that we forget about our own lives. And sometimes we have to be accountable for ourselves, because when we're accountable for ourselves, we're better accountable for somebody else. So that'll probably be the one thing that I would say throughout my whole career and every day in my life. I try and just be accountable.
Come on, advocates.
Oh, persistence. You know, persistence has always paid off for me. So it's persistent, and in my personal life, and just on what Keisha's saying, I need to be more accountable in my professional life. So that's going to be my new word for 2023.
Carmen?
I think I would say show up for yourself. So I think we often show up for other people and we're there for other people, kind of similar to what Keisha was saying, but be that same person that you are to your friends and your family, be that to yourself as well. So show up for yourself.
All right. So if you missed it, we're going to have grace. We're going to be ready. We're going to be accountable, be persistent. We're going to show up for ourselves. And for me, what would I say? Dream bigger. Dream bigger.
Yes.
So you can dream big, but go ahead and dream bigger. Be all that you want to be. And with that, I'm going to wish you a happy Saturday. Guests, thank you for taking some time out of your Saturday morning to share with us. We're excited. We're inspired. I know I am. I'm going to watch sports a little differently now. Tell me what we're looking like in you before we get off the air.
Victory. That's all we can see.
Okay.
Watch, tune in, 7:40, I believe, Central Time. We're over here on Pacific Time, so everyone tune in and support the Wildcats.
Yes, go in you hometown. I'm gonna throw on some purple, and that's gonna be 7:40 tonight. It'll be in between the gala, Chestnut Gala tonight. If you're going, I'll see you there. Monique, I'll miss you. That's my gala partner. Keisha and Selena, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful morning. Carmen, Amber, thank you. And of course, Mr. Man, you guys have a wonderful, happy, and safe Saturday.
Listening to Evanston Cradle to Career Advocates for Action on Radio Law Difference. Please tune in again next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another show.
You're so